like the pine trees lining the winding road. I've got a name, I've got a name.
Hi, this is Ben Hart. I'm going to talk to you today about the law of cumulative actions and why understanding the power of this law and following it is the number one key to you achieving your goals in life. For example, if you make a decision to read just 30 minutes every day, you will be able to read 30 to 40 books per year, assuming the books average 60,000 words and you have an average reading speed. That's 30 to 40 books a year with just 30 minutes of reading per day. Not bad. So that would be a good habit to get into. But bad habits also have a cumulative impact. Let's say you consume 100 calories more in food per day than you burn off with exercise. 100 calories equals about 10 Lay's potato chips. That's not much. But you would gain 10.4 pounds of fat per year if you ate 10 more Lay's potato chips than you burn off in fat each day. In 5 years, you would be 50 pounds overweight. In 10 years, you would be 100 pounds overweight. Or let's get back to another positive habit. Let's say you make a commitment to save $100 per month for 35 years. And let's say you invest that money in a stock market index fund. Let's say the S&P 500 index of stocks of America's 500 largest corporations. The S&P 500 stock index has averaged about 11% annual return per year since 1928. I'm measuring since 1928 to include the Great Depression, when the stock market lost 90% of its value, from 1929 to 1933. But even with the Great Depression, the S&P 500 stock index has increased by an average of 11.42% per year. So let's say you are 20 years old. If you make a commitment to put $100 per month into an S&P stock index fund, and if you do this for 35 years, and if we assume the S&P will continue to go up 11% per year on average, as it's done since 1928, how much will you have? Well, you will have $552,000 by the time you are age 55. You are still a relatively young person. This doesn't make you rich, but it would put you in the top 25% of net worth for Americans age 55. And keep in mind that you only actually put in $100 per month, which is $1,200 per year. So you actually only put in $42,000 during the entire 35-year period. So your net worth becomes literally 13 times what you put into this S&P 500 stock index fund. So that's a 1,300% return on your investment over 35 years. And the reason this is happening is because you are investing not just the $100 per month, which equals $1,200 per year. You are also reinvesting the 11% average return you are getting each year on the money that you've invested and on the money that's been building up, including the additional 11% per year. This is called the miracle of compounding returns on your money. At first, this 11% return doesn't sound like much. 11% on your first year investment of $1,200 is just $132. But over time, this 11% return grows exponentially. So by year 35, your 11% annual return becomes $60,000 a year if you are doing nothing further. Now you can probably live on $60,000 per year, which is much more than you'll receive from Social Security, if you see anything at all from Social Security. But that's another discussion. And that's if you just commit to investing $100 per month faithfully for 35 years, until say age 55. But what if you commit to doing this for another 5 years? For 40 years, until you're age 60. Well, after just 5 more years of doing this, you would then have $915,000 if your money kept growing at 11% per year, thus compounding, and if you kept adding $100 per month until the age of 60. Is that enough to retire on? Well, not if you want to live lavishly, but you could probably live fairly comfortable in your retirement years on $101,000 per year, which is what your investments would be throwing off if you continue to get your 11% annual average return. But most likely as you get older, you'll want to put your money in less volatile investments that would get you, say, 8% annual return per year. So you would have to scrape along on $73,000 per year in your retirement, plus whatever Social Security might toss into your bank account. And remember, that's only if you commit to investing $100 per month every month for 40 years into an S&P 500 stock index fund. And actually, the best thing to do is to invest in an S&P 500 ETF, which stands for Exchange Traded Fund, because it has the lowest management fees, so it's slightly different from a mutual fund, which has higher management fees. An ETF is a stock that seeks to mirror a stock exchange, whether the S&P 500, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the NASDAQ, or whatever. But I would say just set up an E-Trade account and buy the symbol for the S&P 500 Index ETF. And there are several. You can buy Vanguard's, which on the New York Stock Exchange is the symbol VOO. That's what I would do. If you want to be a bit more aggressive, you can also buy a NASDAQ ETF, a stock that mirrors the largest 100 stocks in the technology-heavy NASDAQ stock index. The symbol for that is QQQ. By investing in this, you'll be investing in companies like Apple, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, and the tech giants. A good approach is to split your investment between VOO, that's your S&P 500 Index Fund ETF, and QQQ, that's your largest tech stocks on the NASDAQ. Just put your money in there each month and forget about it. But let's say instead of investing $100 per month in these stock index funds for 40 years faithfully, come hell or high water, let's say you find a way to invest $200 per month for 40 years until you are age 60. Well, then you would have $1.8 million by the time you were 60 years old. Still a relatively young person. But now, let's extend this out another 5 years, doing this for 45 years until you are age 65. Well, then you will have $3.1 million, and that's plenty to retire on and live quite well, at least for most of us. Even if at age 65, you put your money into safer, less volatile investments that just return 8% per year on average, that would still give you an annual income from your investments in retirement of $248,000. I'm sure you can live on that. And that's if you just commit to putting away investing $200 per month every month faithfully from age 20 to age 65. You will then be a relatively wealthy person by the age of 65. In fact, you will be in the top 3% of richest people in the country for your age, 65. That's just what a little commitment, a regular commitment to action can do for you over time. Financially, this is called the miracle of compounding returns. The miracle of compounding returns. It's also why you never want to have high credit card debt with a high interest rate. No credit card is best because the law of compounding will work against you in reverse if you have credit card debt, often with 15% or 28% interest rates or even higher. This is how the credit card companies turn you into their slave. So you never want to have credit card debt. It's very difficult to become wealthy if you have a habit of carrying a balance on your credit cards and paying that 15% or 28% or higher interest rate. You just dig a bigger and bigger hole for yourself. You do need a credit card in the modern world, but be sure you have a credit card that allows you to pay it off each month with no interest rate and no annual fee. You can also use a prepaid debit card. That's even better. You prepay what your monthly budget calls for. Then, when you've exhausted it for the month, you're done, come hell or high water. And your budget includes that $100 or $200 that you commit to invest in your S&P 500 stock index fund each month. Again, come hell or high water. This is called paying yourself first. Never miss a month of paying yourself that $100 or $200 each month, whatever you've committed to, that goes into your S&P 500 stock index fund for 45 years. Now, maybe you're not going to be able to save $200 per month when you're young. Maybe you can only save $100 per month. But keep in mind that your income will likely grow as you get older. So maybe you commit to a schedule of saving or investing $100 per month until you are age 30, then up it by $100 every 10 years to $200 from age 31 to 40, $300 from age 41 to 50, and to $400 from age 51 to 60, and then $500 per month for your final 5 years before you turn 65. How much would you then have in your retirement? Well, you'd have $2.5 million. Now notice, this is not as good as if you started investing $200 per month right from the beginning and kept at it, adding $200 per month until the age of 65. If you did that, you would have $3.1 million. So it's not as good to play catch up later. It's still good, just not as good. It's best to start with the biggest commitment that you can make from the start, starting at the age of 20, But it also needs to be a commitment that you can manage. It needs to feel like something that you just do, like brushing your teeth. If you can save and invest $100 per month, that's good. Then increase your monthly commitment as your income grows, as it should and probably will as you get older and more established in your career. Now, this law of compounding returns, or law of cumulative actions as I also call it, works in all areas of your life. Good decisions, healthy habits, have a cumulative effect over time, and they have a multiplier effect. I like the visual illustration of cascading dominoes, how a domino the size of a tic-tac can end up toppling a domino the size of a skyscraper pretty quickly because of this multiplier effect, this law of cumulative actions.
And there are 13 dominoes, and the largest domino, it weighs about 100 pounds and is more than a meter tall. Ready? Boom. That was 13 dominoes. If I had 29 dominoes, the last domino would be as tall as the Empire State Building.
And you'll see this happening in your life as you look back. The law of cumulative actions can work powerfully in your favor, or this law can work powerfully against you depending on the decisions you make and the habits that you develop. Good habits have a powerful multiplier effect over time in your favor. That can lead to great accomplishments. But bad habits have a powerful multiplier effect in reverse against you that will put you deep into a hole that you will have trouble climbing out of. Eating just 10 potato chips more each day, which is 100 calories, more than you burn off through living and exercise, means that you will be 100 pounds overweight in 10 years, 200 pounds overweight in 20 years, which really isn't that much time. That time will pass in the blink of an eye. And this will lead to all kinds of health problems, a multiplier effect. It will lead to diabetes, heart problems, high blood pressure, increased likelihood of early death, increased chances of cancer, lower productivity at work, less likelihood of getting hired for good jobs, low self-esteem, being less attractive to the opposite sex, etc., etc. The problem of eating just 100 calories per day, 10 potato chips, a quarter of a container of McDonald's fries, cascades into many problems in all areas of your life, your health, your finances, your love life, you feeling sick and low energy all the time, and even early death. This law of cumulative actions is why people who run into trouble with the law have trouble ever escaping the judicial system. They have a record. Law enforcement is watching them. If they get into any trouble again, the punishment becomes worse. It becomes difficult to find work because you have a criminal record. So often people who have a criminal record commit more crimes because they can't get a job, or maybe because that's all they know how to do. So they keep ending up back in jail. I've talked to felons who say they would prefer to serve out their entire sentence than get out on parole because it's almost impossible to live life without violating the very strict conditions of parole. Then you end up back in prison with a longer sentence, even if the parole violation is minor. So there's an enormous chain reaction that occurs when you are convicted of a crime. According to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, 76% of prisoners who are released are back in prison within 5 years, and 57% are back in prison within 1 year. Is it because these are all just terrible people? Well, no doubt some of them are bad people, just are genetically wired to be criminals. But it's my belief that most just made bad decisions early in life that led to this chain reaction, this negative multiplier effect. They were convicted of a crime when they were young, perhaps fairly minor on the criminal scale. This then ended up on their permanent record. They then had a hard time finding decent work. Meanwhile, they met up with the wrong kinds of people when in prison, who taught them how to be a more effective criminal, and the dominoes in their life began to fall against them. Or let's just take a relatively minor bad decision that you might make. Maybe you get pulled over for speeding. Doesn't seem like a big deal by itself. Going 10 miles an hour over the speed limit doesn't make you Al Capone or anything. But you'll have to go to court and pay a fine, but the costs don't end there. Your car insurance rates will go up, usually significantly. Then if you get more than one speeding ticket or moving violation, you'll find your insurance rates double. 3 tickets and your license might be suspended. You'll have to attend driving school, and your insurance rates will go through the roof, if you can even get insurance. A poor driving record will cost you tens of thousands of dollars over time, just in higher insurance rates. And that's before any accidents that you might have as a result of your poor driving habits. If you yourself aren't killed in an accident, you have a much higher risk of killing or injuring someone else, in which case you will be sued for every penny you have and every penny you will ever make. Bad decisions almost always lead to not just one bad consequence, but to a cascading series of bad consequences that fan out in many directions of your life, a multiplier effect. Your bad decisions often, well usually, have a negative impact not just on your life, but on the lives of many others around you, your loved ones and your friends. But your good decisions and your good health habits also have a multiplier effect in your life, in a positive direction. I showed you how just making a commitment to save and invest $100 per month into a broad stock market index fund will likely make you a millionaire when you retire if you start doing this in your 20s because of the law of compounding returns. But this works in every area of your life. If you commit to reading a book for 30 minutes a day, you'll read 30 to 40 books in a year. If you decide you want to change the shape of your body, you'll need to commit to 30 minutes of rigorous exercise per day for at least 5 days per week. If you can do 5 push-ups, but you want to be able to do 100 continuous push-ups, you'll need to do 5 sets of the most push-ups you can do 2 times a week, and then you'll get there. That's what I did. I decided I wanted to read the entire Bible. I had never read the Bible before. I figured that if I read 3 pages of the Bible each day, I would get through the entire Bible in a year. So that's what I did. When I was a senior at Dartmouth College, I decided I wanted to write and publish a book. This seemed like a very daunting task, to write a 300-page book. I thought writing 5 and 10-page essays for my courses was tough enough, but a 300-page book? How would I possibly do that? Well, I then figured out that if I could just write 3 pages a day, I would have a 300-page manuscript in 100 days. So that's what I did. I committed to writing 3 pages a day for 100 days. 3 pages a day come hell or high water. I told myself that I would sit at the typewriter for as long as it took to write those 3 pages, 8 hours or more if needed. I could either stare at the blank page for 8 hours, or I could write 3 pages. Well, guess what? I managed to write the 3 pages every day for 100 days. So I achieved it. I had a 300-page book manuscript. But something else happened while writing this manuscript. I became a very good writer, because practice really does make perfect. The way you learn how to write is to write. Write every day. Writing became pretty easy for me. It then became much easier for me to write my college essays for my classes. Getting A's on my papers became easy. So then my next project was to get my book published. Well, that was actually a much bigger project than I thought it would be. It took me 2 years to find a publisher. I committed to a schedule of sending manuscripts to 3 publishers a week. I got rejection notice after rejection notice. But a few expressed interest, including Simon & Schuster, one of America's largest book publishers. They strung me along for about a year, asking me for rewrites and changes, which I dutifully did. But then the editor who was interested in the book was suddenly no longer there. I guess she was fired or left or something. So Simon & Schuster lost interest. But the book was eventually accepted for publication by a smaller publisher called Stein & Day, also located in New York City. They even paid me a $10,000 advance, which for me, at that time in 1983, was more money than God had. My book, Poisoned Ivy, went on to become a national bestseller. I was on all kinds of TV shows promoting the book. This book then helped me land my first job in Washington, D.C., first as a reporter for the Washington Times. I then went on to write speeches for many of America's leading political figures, including Ronald Reagan, George H.W. Bush, presidential candidates Jack Kemp and Robert Dole, dozens of senators, governors, and corporate executives. Through a weird chain of events, I ended up in the advertising business, built my own ad agency, and became recognized as one of America's top direct marketing advertising writers and creators. My ads and websites have generated more than $1 billion in revenue for my clients and have allowed me to put millions of dollars into my bank account. I sold my ad agency in 1998, and I have not had to go to a real office since then. I now just write and create advertisements from wherever I happen to be. All I need is a laptop and an internet connection. I've managed to design the perfect life for myself. I live 5 months out of the year in Chicago, and the rest of the year in Florida, or wherever I want to be. I own many properties and have become a multimillionaire without ever having to go to an office. Not bad. And it all started with my decision and my commitment to write those 3 pages a day. That decision and that commitment to write those 3 pages each day when I was a senior at Dartmouth College had a positive cascading effect, a multiplier effect that fanned out in so many directions that I never could have anticipated. I've tried to adopt this approach in all areas of my life. For example, I still commit to 5 hours per day of writing 5 days per week. I commit to 2 hours per day for exercise. And actually, in 2012, I somehow fell into breakdancing as my form of exercise. It was completely accidental. I saw this breakdancing competition and I thought, wow, that looks like a lot of fun. A fun way to get in shape. So I started doing it, got lessons, and went to practice sessions. At the age of 60, I've become pretty decent at it. And I'm in better physical shape now because of that than I've ever been since my ski racing days back in the 1970s. I've always been very involved in athletics and in sports. Health and fitness has always been a big part of my life. So I make a commitment to that, a daily commitment. And I believe it's paid off very well. My friends in my age group have already started dying, or they are dreadfully unhealthy because they have not lived healthy lives. The most important investment you can make is in your health. If you are not healthy, you can't be productive. You can't enjoy your friends and your loved ones. You cannot provide for the people that you care about. You can't enjoy this blessing called life. So I make a serious daily commitment to health and fitness. It's a lifestyle. Your brain and your body are the engines that allow you to do everything else. You have to maintain them, not abuse them. Strive to improve and fine-tune these engines so you can enjoy all that life has to offer. It's just like the engine of your car. If you don't take care of your car, get those tune-ups, oil changes, and scheduled maintenance, your car is going to break down. You need to stay on schedule for your tune-ups, your oil changes, and your car maintenance. My car just passed the 200,000 mile mark, and it still looks and runs fine. This has a multiplier effect. No need for a new car, so no car payments, plus lower auto insurance rates, so more money in my bank account. Treat your body and brain the same way. They are your engine. They need care and maintenance, regular daily care, or your body and mind will start to malfunction and break down before it should. When you set goals, you need to have a schedule for achieving your goals, a daily schedule. And it should be a written schedule, not just something in your head. And you should keep a journal or a log where you write down what you accomplished toward your big goal each day. Note what you did and describe the progress you feel that you've made and where you think you fell short. Whatever your goals are, you must make a commitment to achieve a mini goal each day and every day, which is a step toward your big goal. If you achieve these mini goals each day, such as when I made that commitment to write 3 pages a day, it's not long before you've achieved something very big. You'll likely have several goals you want to advance towards simultaneously. For example, I have professional and career-related goals. How much income I want to bring in each year. I have marriage goals, making sure my marriage is solid and hopefully continuing to improve and grow. Relationship goals with my kids, relationship goals with my friends, health and fitness goals, spiritual goals. If I'm not undertaking daily scheduled action in all these areas, whatever I'm neglecting will start to fall apart. And the disintegration, by the way, will be rapid. Even a fence post needs scheduled attention. It needs to be painted or it will rot and disintegrate. But the bottom line point I want you to take away from this is, 1, you have to set goals for yourself. If you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. So set the goal and make it a big goal. But 2, sometimes thinking of that big goal all the time is too daunting and discouraging. That's why you need to schedule daily achievable bite-sized goals that will ultimately add up to you achieving your big goal over time. People who become billionaires don't set out to become billionaires, but they are goal setters and goal achievers. They wake up every day with a set of goals and tasks that they want to achieve that day, and then they do them. They have a plan and a schedule for daily action. Over time, their cumulative actions produce a huge result, usually unanticipated. Unanticipated because they never could have imagined the multiplier effect their cumulative actions would produce over time. Bill Gates' big goal was to put a personal computer in every home and on every desk. Steve Jobs' big goal was to create an operating system and computer products that are easy for anyone to use. Warren Buffett's daily goal was to find underpriced stocks. He's the most successful investor in world history. None of them imagined when they began their journeys that their cumulative daily actions toward their goals would also make them multi-billionaires. The fact that they became multi-billionaires was just the natural outgrowth of the goals they set, the plans they put in place, and the daily actions they took toward their goals. And you have to be relentless about it. Make sure you achieve at least one significant step toward each of your big goals each day. The reason people don't become billionaires is that they're not disciplined. They get diverted from their goal. They get easily distracted and run down rabbit holes. Or maybe the problem is you just don't set goals. If you don't have a goal, you can't have a schedule of daily actions that you take toward your goal. You're aimless. That's a prescription for depression. If you have no idea where you're going, that's pretty frightening and pretty depressing. It's no fun to be adrift in the ocean or lost in a forest, not knowing where you are. Aimlessness, not knowing where you are or where you're heading, is scary. And that fear eventually becomes despair. You feel like you have no purpose in life. So set goals, set big goals. Then write down a schedule for daily action towards your goals. A goal without a plan and a schedule of daily action toward your goal is not a goal. It's a dream. It's a fantasy that will never happen. But here's something else to know. If you set a goal, and if it's a big enough goal, you might not actually achieve it. That's right, you might not actually achieve your big goal. And that's okay. You might, for example, set a goal of winning an Olympic gold medal in gymnastics. And let's say you commit to this goal and actually put in the 20,000 hours of practice that Olympic gymnasts put in to have a chance for the Olympic gold medal. Well, you might fall short. You might not win the Olympic gold medal. You might not win the bronze medal. You might not win any medal at all. You might not make the Olympic team. But if you are a good athlete and you put in the 20,000 hours of practice and training, you will be a world-class gymnast. That's basically for certain. And that's pretty darn good. You will have also, and this is important, you will have also learned what it takes to be world-class. At the very least, you'll be qualified to teach gymnastics. But let's say you're now pretty fed up with gymnastics and you want to do something else. Now let's say you take this work ethic, this discipline, this focus, this ability to perform under pressure that you learned while becoming a world-class gymnast, and you apply all this to a new goal, say to becoming a great lawyer, or a great doctor, or building a business. Do you think the odds are pretty good that you will succeed at these goals? There's no such thing as an Olympic gold medal for lawyering, but any smart person can become a world-class lawyer if they put in the effort and the time, if they have the same discipline and focus that a world-class gymnast has. There's no Olympic gold medal for building a business or being a doctor, but if you put the same effort into becoming a doctor or building a business that you put into gymnastics, you will become world-class. You will be highly successful, because that's just the kind of person you've trained yourself to be through your dedication and daily hard work toward your gymnastics goal. The work habits, focus, discipline, and the ability to perform under pressure that you acquired by becoming a world-class gymnast can be applied to all of your goals. And not every goal has to be something enormous. There are many small goals that you probably would like to achieve. For example, I want to learn Spanish in the next 8 weeks, so I'm working on my Spanish for 30 minutes each evening. If I learn the 2,000 most common words plus basic sentence structure, my Spanish should be pretty passable within about 8 weeks. I use the good old-fashioned flashcard system for this. I have a list of 30 books I want to read this year. If I make a commitment to read 30 minutes each evening, I'll get through these 30 books. This is actually a goal I set every year. I read 30 or 40 books a year by reading 30 minutes each evening before I go to bed. Reading also helps me get to sleep, so that's a good side benefit of reading every night. I want to be able to walk on my hands, so I'm practicing that 10 minutes a day. I want to be more flexible, so I'm adding 12 minutes of yoga per day to my normal 60-minute daily breakdancing and workout routine. This is how you get things done. Set goals, big and small, and have a schedule of daily actions that you take toward your goals. And commit to your schedule. Make your schedule your lifestyle. And by the way, include downtime as part of your daily schedule. You need time to play, to goof off, and to decompress. But schedule it. Don't let 30 minutes of video gaming turn into 2 hours. This is how you achieve all your goals, big and small. And you'll still have plenty of time for aimless fun and just living life. Actually, you'll have more time for goofing off and having fun than you would if you didn't have a schedule. But personally, I think maybe the most fun thing I do is set and achieve goals. It's just great to know exactly what I'll be doing when I wake up each morning and exactly what I'll be doing throughout the day.
Like the pine trees lining the winding road, I've got a name, I've got a